In this video, we are talking about Morpheus integration with ServiceNow CMDB. So I have an integration of ServiceNow already in my Morpheus appliance. Let's have a look at the integration. Okay, so if I go down, you should see ServiceNow New York. So I'm connecting to a ServiceNow instance with a username password. I've given this integration name as ServiceNow New York. Okay, this is already done. So if I click on this, you should see a message like this. I'll talk about how to resolve this message, and you will see that it is now able to connect. So what I want to do is whenever I provision an instance, I want Morpheus to write to the ServiceNow CMDB database. To do this, what we have to first do is after the integration is added, add the integration onto a group or to a cloud. To add the integration to a group, you click group name as in group is a cloud. So I can have more than one cloud inside a group, and that same cloud can be on different groups as well. So in this group, I have a cloud for VMware. So if I am provisioning any instances on this group and onto this cloud, it should write a CMDB record for that. We'll see that in action. So the first I have to do is edit and make sure I have the ServiceNow New York selected under my CMDB list. I may have other integrations as well, but for now I'm selecting ServiceNow New York for this one. Okay, so let's start in provision. So this is my ServiceNow instance. Okay, and according to the integration, if I edit again, it is going to write the CI record into a table called as CMDB CIVM instances, which is actually configuration base items all, which is over here. So if I go and search for base on my left hand side filter and scroll down, this is all. So a configuration item will be created in base all table. So this is CMDB underscore CI underscore VM underscore instances table. Okay. So let's start provisioning. So I go over here, provision instance. So select provisioning instances. Let me search for an instance that I like. So let me send to a 7 instance. And I am going to select the ServiceNow group. So I have only one cloud in there. That's why I have a default of cloud over here. I will say this is a ServiceNow test. I just give a number around it so I don't duplicate it. Next. I'm going to select a VMware layout, and this would be a plan. So I need 1 gig of memory and 1 core, and 10 gig of hard disk is absolutely fine for this test. It is going to this network, and I'll click on next, and I'm going to deploy this. Okay. So I'm having an approval waiting for me. Okay, let's have a look at this approval also. So if I go over here, it says there is an RITM created in ServiceNow, which is with this number, and there's a request item also. So let's go ahead and search for that RITM because that's related to the request. So if I go over here, top right, search for that RITM. So it's RITM, I think it is 5 zeros. Let's copy it again. Okay, searching it. Okay, so now the state is open. So what I'll do is I'll change it to closed complete. That's equally as approved. And I'll update it. Okay. There's a video of ServiceNow policies, approval policies, which I've done. Have a look at that video. How to make this approval policy in Morpheus for which would then call a workflow in ServiceNow. In this instance, I'm calling the service item request catalog item, which is a workflow in ServiceNow. What I can do is I can, in the interim, while we are doing this, let me show you what that policy looks like. So now what Morpheus is doing, it'll wait for a minute and do an API call again to ServiceNow to check if this RITM is approved or not. In the meantime, let me show you the policy that it is having. So if I edit this one, this is the approval policy. The type is provisioning approval. And I am using an integration of my ServiceNow New York integration. The workflow that I selected was called as service catalog request. So this workflow will be triggered when a machine is provisioned into this cloud. Okay, what happens is when this workflow is triggered, this workflow will be managed by ServiceNow, not by Morpheus. So if the RITMs created or request items created as part of this workflow, it will follow what is written into that workflow in ServiceNow Studio. So if I'm saying that the workflow should create a request item and a related RITM, that's how it will create. And if I say the request should be approved completely only when the RITM is approved, then that's how it will follow. So I'm not writing a workflow of ServiceNow from Morpheus in this instance. So just to be clear, if I write a custom workflow in ServiceNow, it will list a workflow as over here as well. So I can use that as my provisioning workflow too. Okay, so now it has done an API call to check if the machine has started provisioning, if the approval is done. So it is done and the machine has started to provision. I can check the history of what it is doing. So it is now deploying an instance in my VMware cloud. You see it has prepared resources, configured instance. Using the image, it has started to create the machine. It has resized the machine according to the spec that I have asked it for. And it has kicked in Cloud Init to do the configuration. Machine has been powered on. It will now get an IP from DHCP and network will come up. It will finalize by installing the agent. After the agent is installed, then that's when the ServiceNow CMDB update will happen. So what we're looking for is this name, a CI name with this would be created. So if I go back over here and I search for this is a different one which I did a test before. I can just search by a filter and say in the name field. So I'll search for name, check if anything contains this value. Okay. So I'll run it now just to be sure we don't have a record. Okay. So we don't have a record. Once this instance is fully completed, so it has got an IP now from DHCP and it is saying since it's sent to S machine, it is communicating on 22. So I'll let the finalize complete where it installs Morpheus agent, which is quite lightweight as well. You can see the total time spent to create the VM as well. So it's 3 minutes 38 seconds so far. Quite quick, isn't it? Okay. What we will also do as part of this video is if the RITM, sorry, if the configuration item is created, I want certain fields in my configuration item to be updated during the provisioning. So things like I want a field in my CI to be updated by passing a value from my instance provisioning. Okay. Okay. So that's cool. So now it will kick off in a minute to update ServiceNow. In the meantime, I'll just see if it has already kicked off and oh, that is. So the machine is now provisioned. The CI record is created. And if I click on, it says the state is on. It is created by admin, which is the integration which we used by the user. Uh, IP address of the machine, CPU, disk size. So this is the number of disks, disk size, memory. The status is installed and it is also operational. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's update the object ID of this machine, of the CI to something. Let's say we'll place the object ID of the CI to same as the instance name. Okay, and I want to do that from Morpheus. So whenever new machine is provisioned, fill the instance name with the object ID as well. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go back to my integration, which is under integrations, and I'll come over here. I'll edit this integration. Okay, now this is where I use custom mapping. In ServiceNow, I want this field to be used, right? So the field name is object underscore ID. So what I'll do is I'll create a JSON over here, and I would say, sorry, object underscore ID should be value for this one would be my instance name. So that would be instance.name, which is a Morpheus variable. To see all the variables in Morpheus, you can go to docs.morpheusdata.com and just search for variables over here on the left hand side. In this section, you will see all the variables in the format that you can use. So these are the different variables. So these are something like Ansible facts that we collect as part of our machine provisioning for the instance. So now what I want is I want that object ID to be updated with the instance name. So that's what I provided over here. And we will save this. Saving now. I think it will not accept this as the appropriate value. I think I have to use this one. Yeah, I think I have to use this like this. This is how I refer the variable name to be used by API call when I send it via JSON, not the other way. Okay, I'll save this again. So in this case, what we'll do is as soon as the save is done, I want the CI to be updated as I reconfigure this machine. So let's say I'm going to update this CPU and memory with a new value. I'm going to change the plan. So I want to make sure that my CI is updated as well for that. Okay. See if the integration is saved. I want the integration to get saved and then we'll do that change. And as soon as as part of that, I also want that instance name to be updated to the object ID field. So if I go over here and the integration is saved, so if I go over here and say actions and I say reconfigure, I'm now changing the plan to say 1 vCPU, sorry, 2 vCPU and 8 gig of memory. Okay. Let's say 1 CPU and 2 gig of memory. So that's fine. And I reconfigure. It will do restart at the VMware end, and then we should see the size getting updated. And then we should also see this value getting updated as well. So if I go back and I will rerun the query as soon as that update is completed. So you see how easy it is to resize a machine. So it's like day two operations from Morpheus for an instance. Okay. And the history as well. So you have an audit history, who did what and what was actioned. Okay, let's see in a minute. Okay, that's done. So I would hope this is now executed as well, or it might take a bit of time. Uh, let's see if this is updated. So 1 vCPU, yep. So 2 gig of memory. So now that has changed, and you see the object ID added as well. So this is how you update. So now the next use case is I want to build a machine, but I want to ask the user a question. So like I want the user to select something or input something. Okay. So I've created a custom instance type over here. In this instance type, I have a layout for VMware. In this VMware layout, you see I'm asking the user number of servers. Okay. So I want this value, whatever the user enters, to be updated in the field. Let's say, let's pick up a field. Let's say I append that in the object ID itself. So with AA service now, I say after the server name, update the number of servers as well. So what I'll do is in my instance type, where I have this option type of servers. So I'll see what this option type look like. So if I go back and I say number of servers, which is in my option types, which is a text field. So I'll ask, and the field name of that is this one. So this is my variable name. So if I edit the integration again, and I would say After this object ID and number of servers would be custom options dot this field name. Right, so I'll save this. So I should see that message updated now once I create a new machine with that specific instance type. So I'll prepare to start the machine provisioning in the meantime because I have to get approval. So start the same provisioning activity again. So add, and this time I'll say Apache, which is the instance type. Next, and I would say ServiceNow. This is number 16. Next, so small. So spool. It's my cost center. This is my number of servers. So I'm saying number of servers should be 1. So that's what should be updated in ServiceNow. Let's see the integration is done here. That's saved as well. It's cool. So next, complete. So it's waiting for approval. Let's see what's the RITM number in this case. Okay. Yep. So the RITM number is 19. Go over here, change that to 19 and search it again. I'll mark that as was complete. And now I go back to instances. Should pick up in a minute. And I'm hoping to see this new instance created with -16. So if I change this and just do like this, we can use a regex to actually do that. Okay, give it a minute. Let's confirm if I updated it properly. Yeah, that's close complete, and it should have a request number against it as well, which is this one. So if I search for this one, should be in the approved state as well. Yep, that's all approved. So if I see the workflow, it's just my lab responsive or not. Might take a bit of time. So that's the workflow, which is all done. Let me see the workflow out of. Okay, so the request number was, see my request over here. What's this one? Okay, run approve. Okay, so you see even the request gives information as from which tenant this request was sent, who, which user, the instance name, which instance type I'm using, what's the Morpheus URL for that instance, how much memory it's requested, and how much storage and how many cores. And if I see the workflow context of this one, yep, oh, sorry, it started provisioning already. So it picked up, just took some time. Let's see the workflow. Yep. So that's completed as well. So after approved, it directly went to finish, which is good. And we will also now keep our screen ready for searching the host. So it is going to write into this table, and I will search for the name field. It contains, I'll use the server name as well. I have to make sure that it doesn't exist. So 16 doesn't exist, 6 exists, and 23 exist. Also, when you delete a machine, the CI records are marked as terminated. So they still exist but marked as terminated. Okay, it's deploying the machine. Wait for the deployment to complete. In the interim, we can also see we are also going to fix this one. So when I added my plugin was with 137. With the recent upgrade to 4.1.2, we have a new branch for this plugin. So all I have to do is switch the branch of Morpheus catalog application in ServiceNow to a branch called as V2, which is version 2. So once that is fixed, then this message will go off. It will still work. The CI integration still works. CMDB integration still works. Approval still works even without the plugin. So that's absolutely fine. I don't require the plugin for that. What I require the plugin for is if I am provisioning from ServiceNow and then Morpheus takes the API call and provision what I want to provision, that's when I require this. So in the other video of my ServiceNow, I've explained how to push instances that you want to be created from ServiceNow uh, to be provisioned via Morpheus. This portion I've explained in the other video, so you can have a look at that. Okay, let's see where it is. So it's in the finalizing stage. In this finalizing stage, taking a bit of time only because I have asked it to install Apache as well using my Ansible playbooks as part of this install of my instance. So on top of my base image of CentOS 7, it is going to execute a workflow which has Ansible tasks, which would then install Apache on top of it. You know what? I can show you how exactly that's done. So what I did was in my integration. Oh, let's check if that has actually been completed or not. Save. Yeah, it's saved. Okay, that's fine. So if I go to my integrations, I have my integration as this for Ansible. So when we say we integrate with Ansible, we just need to connect to your GitHub repository or Git or local anything. Once that is done, I can use my playbooks as Ansible automation task. So if I go to automation, make sure it's running. I have a task over here. In the task, I have a task like playbook task. So I can refer to my Git repository and I use this as my section to call the playbook name. I don't need to append the .yml extension. And I can say which branch it is coming from. If I don't specify anything, it'll come from master branch. So I can create multiple tasks like these of Ansible and add them to a workflow operating type. So I should have an Apache flow CentOS. Let me see if I have something as Apache. So what this is doing is it is going to install CentOS Apache, which is a task, and I have already used this workflow to be tied up to my instance types. So if I go back to library and add this one, I think I've attached this in the instance type. It's asking the cost center. That's absolutely fine. If I check this one, there you go. So that's the workflow attached over here. So whenever someone uses this layout, that playbook will be executed as part of the instance provisioning. So that's all completed. So let's see this workflow as well. So if you see over here, this is the Ansible playbook run which was executed. So it is executing over command bus, which is 443. It is not executing over 22 because I have an environment where I don't have 22 port open. I can execute over 22 also. I just need to uncheck the command bus option in my integration. That's it. Okay, so now what we're going to see is if this instance is recorded as my CI over here. So if I go back and run this again, oh, lovely. So 16 is there, and the object ID has the value of the option that I added. So it has number of 1. Hope this explains how we integrate with CMDB of ServiceNow from Morpheus. Thank you.